Hey there, Start here. As you can see, I got my rank 1 in the current World Divisions event. Got it pretty quick and simple. Didn't really take too long. The final boss gave me a little bit of trouble because I was trying to do it, as with as few DPS units as I could get away with. But in the end, I just said, F it, I'm just going to throw everything at it, and went ahead and got my my rank 1. The first two of the new stages are Rufus, Shinra, and the Arsenal, and those two are fairly simple compared to the final boss. They're not as much of a pushover as the early stages. Rufus Shinra has a slightly higher damage cap than the previous stages. His is 2 billion damage. If you do like 2.1 billion, you're fine. That'll get you your damage cap. Arsenal has a 4 billion damage cap, and then the final boss has a 10.737 billion damage cap. So those are the damage caps you're going to be having to hit. The first two are fairly simple to hit. The final boss is going to be difficult, I think, for I don't want to say for a lot of people, but it's going to be difficult to hit without the right units going in. But I'm going to show you all three, and I'll start with Rufus Shinra. The nice thing about these guys is you can take lightning element into all of them. So of course, I'm going to be taking my best girls, Sylvie and Esther, into all of these fights. I've got Golbez. He's going to be dropping bombs with his meteor. Ling is really great for all three of the final bosses because she provides killers for all three of them. She does human killer, she does machine killer, and reaper killer. So she's a really great unit to bring in for these final three bosses. If you're just looking for a nice budget killer buffer, she's really great. Cacteria is going to be my breaker for the first two bosses. Yoshikiri is here literally just for to do some chaining on the burst turn and to provide the killers on his intrinsic ability. All right, now this is the team I'm going to be using for both Rufus Shinra and for Arsenal. So I'm going to go through the gear and show you the gear on these units. They are geared up and ready to go for both of these fights, and so I'm going to do the gear now for both of the fights, and then I'll show you the team that I use to go up against the final boss. All right, so let's see, we've got Sylvie here. You don't need to worry about Sylvie's gear. You can see I didn't even bother to finish gearing her. This is just like gear left over. She doesn't really need anything special. She's here to do her lightning imbue with the amps, and that's about it. The sword and peril for Golbez, of course. So here's Esther. This is way overkill. You do not need to build your Esther this strong. As you can see, we're going to triple, probably even quadruple the damage cap on Rufus. We'll probably double the damage cap against Arsenal. So there's plenty of room if your Esther's not as strong. Don't worry too much about it. You can see I've given her enough killers to make sure she is capped on human and machine. Also on Reaper, she just does that innately when you give her the Azura Esper. But yeah, so I'm not going to be changing any of the gear on my Esther for the first two fights because she is ready to go for both of them. Easy peasy, ready to rock and roll. In her Brave Shift form, because you notice I've started her in Brave Shift form, that is for some damage mitigation. So I gave her Runda's shield to provide that 50% damage mitigation to the team on turn 1. That's just to make sure we don't take too much damage on that first turn from anything. Like I think Rufus Shinra, he does like some fixed attacks, some AoE fixed attacks, and Arsenal does like some lightning damage, which, if you wanted to take an extra turn and do like a lightning buff, you could, and that would be fine, but I don't have anybody doing lightning buffs. So the general mitigation is going to take care of it. I'll cover more of the rest of her gear later, because the rest of her gear will be a little more important for the final boss, mostly just in the elemental resists. All right. So Golbez is, he's got Fryevia's STMR, just so he's got a nice strong sword that can take advantage of Sylvie's sword and peril. I'm not using the Dark Vision sword on this one. I will be using it on the final boss, however, so just go ahead and prepare yourself mentally for that when that comes. Magister's Crown for chain cap boost, and his Cursed Armor, that's more important for the final boss. We will be using his Jet Black Curse ability on the final boss to do the breaks. And then just some killers. I gave him discernment. That's actually for Arsenal, because Arsenal does some status ailments, and so just to make sure he's covered on those, because we're not going to do any kind of like ailment resist buffs or anything like that. I gave him discernment for that one, and he should be good to go on human and machine. Oh no, we will have to do a bit of killer moving around on machine, I guess. Although, honestly, actually, what am I doing with Undead Killer? No, I don't need that. Let's go ahead and do our machine killers. All right. Now I want 100% one. Let's do mechanic for the royal family, and that'll honestly be enough. So 200% machine killer, yeah, that's going to be more than enough to cap Arsenal. I'm not too worried about it. All right. So he is ready to go. He's got Dazzling Demon in his card, but you don't need it for the first 2 stages. You will need it for the final one. Just go ahead and, again, prepare yourself for that. Ling, don't have to worry about her. I usually build her as my evade provoke unit for these types of things. You don't have to, though. But yeah, that's just the option. So she's just wearing like evade provoke gear, some LB gear. Definitely give her Call of the Wild. So that helps her get her LB up a little bit, and then Sylvie's going to do the rest to make sure that she is topped up. Cacteria, you're only going to be worrying about her Brave Shift form, but she honestly doesn't need anything. She can be naked. She's just providing breaks and doing some chaining. Yoshikiri, again, basically naked except for his intrinsic ability, so he can do the 200% killer buffs, which he will apply to Golbez, because Golbez does do a fair bit of more damage, being a finisher and all, and his meteor is just, you know, flat out stronger than Esther's LB. I'm not too ashamed to admit it. So I'm going to make sure she's in Brave Shift form, and to do that, Sylvie needs to start in Brave Shift as well. All right, and we are good to go. So both Rufus and Arsenal are going to be 2-turn quick clears, so let's go ahead and get this done. Okay, so Sylvie will do Paladin's Defense for the Mirage stacks, Clever Paladin Strike for the Sword and Peril, and Marion's Blessing Lightning, so that we'll have at least a 75% amp next turn. Before we do that, I don't want to imbue Esther just yet, so we're going to do Calm Before the Storm, Quantum Storm on Ling, so that she can chain, and then True Storm Brand for the Lightning and Peril. Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Now you may be wondering, well, that's going to leave Esther a little short. Actually, it ended up filling her up. But just to show you what happens if that doesn't happen, Ling is going to fill it up for him using Dragon Dancer. So we'll do Dragon Dancer and Assassin Stance for the human killer. All right, that'll make sure Esther's LB is full. Cacteria is going to do Million Needle Assault, Armor Breaking, Mental Breaking Needles, so that does a 90% attack mag break, 89% defense, and spirit break. Golbez, if you have Dark Rain's TMR Magic Boost Plus, you would use that on this turn. I do not have it, unfortunately. Would have made the last boss a lot easier if I had. But anyways, so I'm just going to do Give Your Powers to Meteor. All right. Yoshikiri is going to do be a start on Golbez, and then do Hikomori for that unlocks his triple cast for next turn, so he can chain with Cacteria. All right, so there you go. He did hardly any damage, so we are good to go. All right. Oh yeah, there's the status ailment. So it must have been Rufus that did it. That's all right. Okay, so Sylvie can just do her LB. Golba is going to drop a bomb. Ling is going to do, oh, it's up here, Chain Lightning to chain with Esther. Cacteria can just do either of her bolting strike abilities. I'm going to do Oasis Retribution. Yoshikiri can do, he can do triple water scroll. That just, helps the chain ramp up even faster because they'll do dual element together. So that'll be really nice. So Golbez can start. All right, and then do Cacteria and Yoshikiri. And then Ling, and Esther. All right, well over 100 hit chain. Should be well over the damage cap. Yeah, 8 billion, so we quadrupled the damage cap there. All right, so clearly there's plenty of room for you. Like if you're like missing Yoshikiri, don't worry. Or if your Golbez and your Esther aren't as strong, don't worry. You know, definitely not necessary. And so, yeah, that's just, yeah, wow. Golbez just blew that one up big time. Nice. All right. Yeah, Golbez is strong. That boy does not mess around. All right. So that's Rufus for you. Arsenal is next. Arsenal is kind of interesting. So it's a machine, of course, and it is weak to lightning, so we get to stick with lightning. We're not even going to really change anything. The interesting thing is it comes with a break bar. Like, I haven't seen a break gauge in forever, but we're going to totally ignore the break gauge because we're going to do so much damage that we can totally ignore the break gauge. So yeah, and even with the break gauge, we're going to, you know, do well over the damage cap. So let's go ahead and just basically do the exact same thing we did, except Ling is going to do the machine killer instead of the human killer this time. All right, so let's do it. All right, so basically same thing as last time. Paladin's Defense, Clever Paladin Strike, and Marion's Blessing Lightning. Esther comes out of Brave Shift. Does the exact same thing. Calm Before the Storm, Quantum Storm on Ling, and True Storm Brand. I'll let her go ahead and go first. Okay. Ling will once again do Dragon Dancer, and this time Mechanic Stance for the Machine Killer. Golbez will just do Give Your Powers to Meteor. Cacteria does the same thing she did last time. Million Needle Assault, Armor Breaking, Mental Breaking Needles, Yoshikiri, Hikomori, and BA Start on Golbez. Okay. So Arsenal will do some AoE lightning damage. Like I said, if you, you know, if you have someone that can do like a lightning resist buff, you know, that'll make sure you take 0 damage on this turn. Or you can just build your team for more lightning resists, however you want to manage that. But having Esther put up the 50% damage mitigation was more than enough to make sure that we don't take too much damage, because Cacteria's got the 90% breaks. So yeah, it really, really reduces that damage big time. All right, so basically same thing as last time. Triple Oasis Retribution, triple Water Scroll. All right, and yep, we're ready to go. So let's drop bombs. All right, 6.6. Yeah, the damage cap was 4 bill, so yep, well over the damage cap. But you can see we're definitely inching closer. I'm not sure how long it takes to whittle down the break bar. Like I said, I just ignored the break bar, so you could potentially, you know, deplete the break gauge, and that might make it even easier. I don't know. I'm too lazy to figure that out right now. I'll probably play around with it in the next couple of days and see. But yeah. Easy peasy there. All right, now the final boss, Whisper Bahamut on the Midgar Expressway. So this guy is a Reaper with a 10.737 billion damage cap. Okay, not easy to hit, especially on a budget. So I think if you pulled for the near units, you almost certainly will have an easier time with this one. I think like those units are extremely strong. Bring them on like a light team, and you should be able to really crush this boss. But I wanted to bring some of my favorite units, some of my older units. I have an EX3 2B, but you know, I didn't want to bring her out because I don't want to assume everybody went for near. A lot of people probably did, but I want to use the units that I really love, and some of the older units. Like I'm really excited to bring Sky into the mix. You know, I've always loved Chizuru. Of course, I love my girl Esther and Sylvie, and Golbez. He's awesome. I'm bringing my Sakura as well, who has a full. I put 4 crowns into her Imperil Field. So she does have the full 50% Lightning Imperil Field, which will help with this team going Lightning Element. It's not required. It is certainly not required, but it certainly helps for sure. If you're, you know, you could easily just throw another DPS unit in Sakura's slot on this team. So if you wanted to throw in like a 2B or an A2, you could easily put her in Sakura's slot, and that would probably make up for that Lightning Imperil Field. Because it's not like this boss has really high resistances anyways. It has 0% resistances across the board, so that 50% Imperil Field isn't going to make as big of an impact as it would if the boss had high resistances, right? So you could easily just throw in an extra damage dealer into that slot. Same goes for you know, Sky or Chizuru. Both of those are very, very swappable DPS units. If you want to bring your if you've got like an EX2 or an EX3 Olive, they would definitely fit into those slots. If you have the near units, definitely you could put 2B and A2 in Chizuru's and Sky's slot very, very easily. Esther is not so replaceable on this clear just because she's providing the Reaper Killer for the party. She's the only Reaper Killer we're providing for the party on this one. And so Esther is kind of important here. She's also doing the LB buff field, which is pretty important for herself and for Chizuru. I'm actually doing a jump build for Sky. And so that's, you know, I've got a lot of the jump gear. If you don't have a lot of the jump gear that I'm going to show you on your Sky build, you definitely want to bring another unit that does like a strong LB, like an Olive or an A2 or a 2B or something like that. I shouldn't say A2 because A2 does not have a strong limit burst, but like 2B. So 2B would be a great swap for Sky if you don't have the jump gear. But you'll be surprised just how strong Sky is on this clear, because she hits Reaper Killer very, very easily. And with jump gear, she's very, very strong on this fight. All right, so let's get to the gear for this one. All right, so Golbez, fair bit stronger here. I'm using my Dark Vision sword. He's got the Magister's crown and Emperor's ring. The curse armor is very, very important because we are using that for our breaks. Curse doll just for a high mag accessory. Here are all of his killers. So Onion Knight Mission Undead Killer, that gets him topped up pretty easily. He's got 300% Reaper ready to go. Dazzling Demoness card, of course, for the high MP. All right. Esther, so her gear swapped around a little bit, but fairly similar. So Magister's Ring for the Chain Cat boost, Orange Jacassate for the high attack armor, Riser's Crown, Crescent Moon Charm just for high attack accessories and helm there. You notice I gave her Judge's Oath. That is important because Esther is going to be omni-tanking this fight, and the boss does a lot of elemental magic damage, so she needs to be completely immune to all elements. So you need to have at least 20% across the board. Sylvie will fill out the rest of those with her 80% buffs, and that will make sure that Esther is completely immune. And then, yeah, she hits Reaper Killer super easily, so GF extension, Executioner isn't even necessary. I just left that on there because I didn't have anything else to put in there, to be honest with you. And then her own vision card, of course. So she is ready with 300% Reaper, full LB, full TDH. In her Brave Shift form, again, she doesn't really need anything. I just gave her Knight's Metal to make sure she had at least 20% resists across the board. Make sure she has her Make sure she has her TMR equipped so that she gets that extra 20 LB fill at the beginning of the turn. That is crucial, absolutely crucial, because we need to have her LB up on turn 2. Okay, you could give her a Blizzard Orb for counters, but it's not necessary. All right. Sylvie, again, you don't really need to worry about her build too much. I did give her a lot of spirit so that when she chains on the burst turn to see if she could deal, some appreciable damage. She doesn't really, but yeah, I kind of cranked up her spirit. It's not necessary, as you will see. Here we go. In Chazur in a normal form, all she really needs is Tyvus' spirit. Yeah, she doesn't need anything else. She can be naked. And then in her Brave Shift form, all just stacked with damage. So we've got the Ruler's Chainmail of Will, Crystal Gloves for LB damage, Red Hellebore, and because that's the next strongest. I've got my Dragoon Helm on Sky, my Riser Crown on Esther, so Red Hellebore is literally like the next highest attack hat slot that I had. Orange Jug for high attack accessory, and then Undead Killers and a Lion's Heart to top up her LB damage. Got her own vision card on there, nothing too special. Alright, so she is capped on everything. We're ready to go. Sky, don't worry about her normal form. She's going to be in Brave Shift the whole time. Magister's Regalia for the chain cap up. Dragoon Helm and Kamari's Pendant add jump modifier boosts. So Dragoon Helm does, if it'll show it, a 30 times modifier boost to jump abilities. And remember, Sky double dips on all of those abilities because her jump hits twice, even though she's a TDH unit. So it's very, very nice. So that 30x modifier boost is actually a 60x modifier boost. Same goes with Kamari's Pendant. It does a 50 times modifier boost, so that's actually a 100 times modifier boost. Very nice. All right. Sky High is her intrinsic ability, which adds another 15 times modifier, so that's actually a 30 times modifier. That also caps off her Reaper Killer innately, no problem. 2000 flat attack, very, very nice. So then I just gave her some Esper stat bonus, and then this is Ricard's Vision card, which does another 40 times modifier boost to jump abilities, which is actually an 80 times modifier boost to her jump ability. So I think that brings her jump up to close to 400 times modifier. And jump damage gets an 800% boost. So it's actually pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, it's going to hit pretty hard. You're going to see in the damage comparison she does pretty well. Not as well as Golbez, but she's right up there with Esther. Usually she's doing better than Esther and Chizuru. So, all right, Sakura. I gave her Yuna's necklace just to give her something to do on turn 1. She can use that Hymn of the Faith Plus, which does actually increase the modifier on her evocation chaining skill that she'll use on the burst turn. It's not going to make her do appreciable damage, but yeah, I did it anyways. 3 stars is there just to reduce the magic cost on her ability, Elemental Power Lightning. Now you can only get access to this if your Sakura is EX2. If not, you will not have access to that ability. All right, just giving you a heads up. Then a lot of Bahamut synergy to make sure she's got plenty of Esper fill ready to go. In her Brave Shift form, I tried to give her, I wanted to be fair to her, and I wanted her to, actually do some damage, but sadly, even with all this gear, she does like negligible damage. So don't worry about all this gear. I tried, I wanted her to contribute something. She really doesn't, so don't worry about all this gear. It is not necessary at all. All right, so this is the team. Make sure you got Rama equipped on your Sakura. It has to be on her. She can't summon any Esper on the field, so definitely make sure she's got that. All right, so let's get in here and kill Whisper Bahamut and hit that damage cap. Get our rank 1. All right, so Esther is going to start with Electromagnetic Shield for the Omnicover, Energizing Bunny for the Killers for the Teen, and True Storm brand for the Lightning and Peril. Golbez is going to do Jet Black Curse. He's going to Provoke. That way Esther jumps out to cover the non-elemental magic attacks instead of him just directly targeting Esther. It'll just reduce the damage. And then Curse for the attack and mag breaks. Alright, Sylvie is going to do her Elemental Petals and Vines, followed by Burgeoning Defense, just to make sure we're not taking too much damage. Chizuru can do Eastern Winds, Staunch Samurai Spirit, and Focus Spirit for the mag damage reduction. Sky on this turn can actually just guard. She doesn't do anything on this turn. Hymn of the Faith on Sakura to give her that mod boost. Again, it's not necessary. If you don't have it, just have her guard on this turn. It doesn't really make her deal any damage. So there you can see Esther's resisting all the elemental stuff. The non-elemental barely does any damage to her, so she's good to go. Now, Golbez, if you had Magic Boost Plus, you would use that this turn and the following turn. I don't have it. It kills me because he would do so much more damage with it, but it's alright. So I'm just going to have my Golbez guard. If you have Magic Boost Plus, use it on this turn and next turn. Alright, Esther's going to come out of Brave Shift and do her LB to set up the LB damage boost field. Sylvie is going to shift. Alright, she is going to do Paladin's Defense, Clever Paladin Strike, and Marion's Blessing Lightning. Sakura is going to do Elemental Power Lightning on Sky. Now you may be wondering, well, jump attacks don't benefit from ramping amps, right? Elemental Power Lightning is a little bit different from Sylvie's, because Sylvie's always only lasts one turn. Elemental Power Lightning does it a little bit differently. So you can see that right away it does a 60% amp that lasts for 3 turns. So that will be up when Sky drops her jump on turn 4. And then it does this ability next turn, which is an 80% amp for 2 turns. That will still be active when Sky lands on her jump on turn 4. She won't get the 100% amp, but she will get an 80% amp, and it makes a difference. Trust me. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that on Sky. Sky is going to do Sharp Spear Focus for the Spear in Peril, Severe Squall, and Overcast Skies. All right, that gives each, those last 2 abilities, Severe Squall and Overcast Skies, give her some more mod boosts to her jump ability, so you definitely want to make sure you do that. Chizuru can just do, she could do like, does she really need to do anything? I guess she can do Eastern Winds, Strong Samurai, and why not Focus Strength, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, just make sure you don't hit Orochi Blade. You don't want to give everybody wind. You don't want to imbue everybody with wind, that's for sure. So again, Esther is ignoring everything because she's completely elemental immune. Chizuru will do Tyvus' Spirit. Sylvie will do her Brave Shifted LB for the buffs. Alright, Esther. Let me just make sure I'm doing all this right. Yep, Esther. Oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Alright, double Bolting Slice and Calm Before the Storm to set up her burst next turn. My Golbez is going to do Give Your Powers to Meteor. We can now summon Ramo for the Imperil field. Alright, and I always just want to make sure everything is done before I send Sky on her jump. That way I make sure all the buffs are in place and everything before she goes. So here's the Mega Flare. It's a fixed attack, but Esther still covers it and does negligible damage. Alright, so we're ready for the burst. Alright, Esther does her LB, Chizuru does her LB. Alright, Now, since Sky has already jumped and her skill has already activated, she's already taking advantage of the Imperil field. So you don't have to worry about hitting Sky before you hit Esther. So don't worry about that. So her damage is literally already locked in. All right. So Sakura and Sylvia are going to chain Bolting Strike. Golbez is of course going to drop Meteor. Chizuru and Esther will chain their LBs, and Sky will fall out of the sky. You do have to tap Chizuru before Esther. That way Chizuru gets to take advantage of the Imperil field. All right, so we'll start Golbez. Okay, just make sure we're all good. Yep, we got our breaks and perils and everything. We are good to go. All right, let's go. Let's drop bombs. All right, I'll wait till the chain is fully ramped, and then I'll send Chizuru, Esther, and Sky. This should be well over 100 chains. We should definitely hit that damage cap. $12.6, yeah. So we did well over the damage cap, almost 2 billion more than necessary. So, you know, again, there's some room if your team's not quite as strong to make some adjustments. Like I said, try throwing another damage dealer in Sakura's slot. That will probably end up doing more damage for you. All right, let's see how damage shook out. See, look at that, man. Sky almost reaching Golbez's damage. Now, of course, Golbez didn't have Magic Boost Plus, but still, that is impressive. So all those jump mod boosts make Sky very, very strong. If the boss has even, you know, is evenly in on the elemental resistances, her jump is extremely strong with all that jump gear. But if you don't have all that jump gear, like I said, throw in someone like 2B, throw in your if you have an EX2 Olive, she should be able to also get this one done for you. You know, your rotation might be a little bit different. You know, you've got to get two. You know, you got to get her normal LB off on turn 1 and 2, so that you can get her Fire Cannon Fire on turn 3. So it could be a little bit tricky, but yeah, those are just some options you guys can use to get this one done. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful to you guys. Hopefully you guys can use this to some effect to help you get your own rank 1 and reserve your 10,000 Lapis. If it wasn't helpful, hopefully it was at least entertaining for you. Thank you guys so much for following me, and I will see you on the other side.